Hey, it's Lauren. This is an excerpt from the full-length episode. To listen to the entire episode, head to the show notes and follow the link.
This episode has been brought to you by the Afterlight Institute. Ignite the light, magic, and miracles within.
In getting ultimately a shift point is the first step is desire. There's got to be, you've got to look at your life and you've got to ask yourself a very serious question is this the life that I imagine for myself? And does it make me feel good? Does it help me be a better person? Does it help me to contribute to other people's lives? You know, am I helping? Am I adding any value to this planet? You know, so all the important questions to kind of go, where am I right now? The second point typically is to find some sort of level of education. And some people can go through that level for years, you know, reading lots of books, doing lots of courses, having lots of conversations, getting into groups and so forth. And education is great. I'll never deny the value of education, but education, you can get lost in it. The main thing that you've got to do is you need to apply what you learn, and as quickly as you learn it, rather than actually, classic example. Last night I was working with this group, and I gave them this strategy, and I said, here is a strategy. This strategy is, it's used when someone has an ineffective strategy and you want to change their strategy. This is how you do it neurologically, and this is how you do it practically. And then I got one of our students to become a demonstration. And then I did the process. Then I said to everyone else, you can see how easy this is. And then someone put up their hand and they said, I'd be a bit reluctant to do that until I fully mastered it. And then I said, firstly, that's a belief system. That says that you've got to master before you do. But mastery happens when you do. And mastery happens when you apply. Like, I could give you 100 books on how to ride a bike. And if you read them all, you will be no closer to the saddle of the bike, and your feet will be no closer to the pedals. The first point of mastery is when you let go, and you've got to let go of balance and risk falling over and be okay with that. But it's our ego that creates so much harm for us because we're scared of being shamed. We're scared of looking stupid. We're scared of, you know, being relegated down the social hierarchy because we are seen to be not adept at doing something. And humanity has to get over that. You know, we've got to be able to get to a point where we allow ourselves to risk falling down. And so education is great, but then we've got to apply, and we've got to have a reason to apply. And we've also got to work out how we're going to measure this. You know, what are we measuring? If we move, if we shift, if we grow, what are we measuring? And that was a key piece that I learned in coaching, you know, that if you're not measuring things, you never really know whether you're shifting things. And so you've got to work out what element are you measuring. You know, quite often when I work with people to help to increase their income, it's very easy. You know, I was working with a lady yesterday, and I said, okay, 3 measurements I want. I want to know, I don't want to know the numbers, but I want you to know them. Your net worth, your savings per month, your income per month, and I want to know what they are. And one more thing, your spending. And then we can measure as your money grows, we can measure that. And it's really easy. But when you're talking about things like confidence, how do you measure that invisible quantity? And so typically what we'll need to do is we'll need to create some sort of activity or behavior or something that someone does. And quite often I work with a lot of people who want to be leaders in the world. And one of the keys is putting yourself out there. So you can measure that. You can say, okay, when you do your first YouTube, that's a measurement that says I can now do this. Or when you do your first talk, that's a measure. I can now do this. And, you'll only get better and better over time. But many years ago, I used to run creative teams. I used to run advertising agencies. And one of the things that I learned through that is I learned how quickly a creative person can fall apart if they don't get the right feedback. And you don't ever want a creative person to fall apart. You want them to build on their ideas, just keep going. So I learned this technique where I would say to our team, here's the brief. We've got to create a television commercial for this. Here's the brief. Now I want your worst work. I don't want your best. I just want the crap. Just give me as much crap as you can. And then people found that really easy. They'd say, okay, how about we have a dog in the middle of the road and a car's coming? And you go, oh, okay, that's setting up some tension. What happens to the dog? What's that heroic moment? And so that would be encouraging. And people would go, oh, how about it's a spaceship? A spaceship comes and then sucks the dog up just at that critical moment, and then you go, okay, how does that fit in with the brief? And then they go, oh, let's adjust it a little. So what you're doing is you keep to the brief, but you let the ideas run. And, I teach a lot of life coaches, and one of the big challenges that life coaches often have is how to get clients. And I'll often say to them, look, just get yourself out there. Do your worst work first. Don't try to perfect this. Just put yourself out there, then give yourself feedback and create that feedback loop. Feedback at the end of the day is when someone says, hey, you're the perfect coach for me. How can I connect with you? And that's good feedback. If you get none of that, then change your tact, change how you present yourself, but be yourself, and let yourself be yourself. So I think that can make a huge, huge difference is, when we let go of this incredible amount of tension and expectations that we put on ourselves. No one ever said we had to be successful. No one ever said you had to stand tall or be this or be that. You had free will. You could be whoever you wanted to be. But sometimes I think we forget that. Don't you agree, Lauren?